Hey there, Tremor. How's it going? Today I'd like to talk to you about the initiative system and the combat turn as a whole. Well, let's see. The combat turn takes place in 3 seconds. And this should help frame your mind about how much you can actually do in that combat turn. Now, to determine who goes in what order of the combat turn, this is determined by initiative. And initiative is determined by certain attributes, and those attributes vary a little bit depending on where you are, meaning are you in the physical world, the astral plane, or in the matrix? Well, so basically you find your initiative attribute by looking on your character sheet. This is something you're going to have to figure out when you make your character most likely, and I'll show you the equation right now and how the different ones work. Then you roll something called your initiative dice. Initiative dice is again a little dependent upon where you are. And for the matrix, it's also if you're cold sim or hot sim. And you roll those dice. Now, you add that total dice number. So you could be like 2d6 if you're in the astral plane. And you get a 3 and a 5, that's 8. And then you add it to your attribute, which could also be 8, so you have 16. And now you've determined your initiative score. You give this number to the game master, and he'll roll it for the NPCs. And he kind of puts them in a list. Now, if there's any ties, they need to be broken, and this is done through a mnemonic Eric. And the first attribute you verify to see which one's higher is luck. Well, not luck, it's edge, which is a determination of luck in this game. So if you're luckier, you get to go first. If that's the same on both of you, then you look at your reaction. Who's a little bit faster? Okay, if those are also the same, then we're going to go to who has a better gut feeling, or your intuition. That person's going to get the upper hand. If the characters are built very similar and happen to roll the same numbers, then what you're going to do is coin toss, or like high-low, something like that. The GM also has the option to have you guys act simultaneously. I think that could make for some interesting situations. So we've determined everyone's order, and we know who's going first. So they get, in their combat turn, they get their action phase. And in an action phase, they get to choose between one complex action or 2 simple actions, okay? And what they get to choose from sometimes varies, again, if they're in physical world, astral plane, matrix. Seems a little more obvious. You want to actually perform an action that's in line with what you're doing. So you select those, and you roll, and you determine the results of that. So in addition to choosing a complex action or 2 simple actions, you get a free action during your initiative pass. And free actions are relatively simple, nearly automatic actions that require little effort to accomplish. So this would be simply saying something, dropping prone, letting something out of your hands, that sort of thing. Now, free actions, unlike complex and simple actions, can be done at any point during their initiative pass. As long as you're not surprised, you can even do them before your action phase. But after you've had your action phase and you've determined the results of your actions, the turn will pass to the next person. And you just simply go down the line. Let's say someone got a really high number like 24, we got a 16 in there, we got an 11, a 10, and an 8. After everyone is gone, you're going to subtract 10 from that number. And that's going to start a new initiative pass. It's not a new combat turn. It's simply a way of tracking how many times you get to go in that combat turn. So this is the reason why you have those augmentations. It helps explain how fast you're actually moving. When you're in the matrix and you're just flying through it and whizzing around, this is how you get to mechanically do it in the game. Because you're going to go so many more times than other people. And this is how it's representative. Now say you don't have any more initiative passes to go. What can you still do? What do you get to do? Well, you still get your free action, and you also get the opportunity to defend yourself. So example, you still get to roll your defense pool, whatever that is, against the attack that's being done to you. But that's it. You can't really move, you can't do much else. And what about those people that have a really good roll, like a 24, let's say? Well, they get to do multiple initiative passes. So you should really subtract 10, you go to 14. You subtract another 10, you go to 4, and then you subtract another 10, and you're in the negatives. Once you have no numbers above 0, you go ahead and start a whole new combat turn. That means you re-roll your initiative. So people with scores that are close to each other could very well be flipping spots from where they go. Another thing that can change your initiative score is taking damage. Your initiative score change will happen instantaneously. As soon as that person receives damage, and they get a -1 to like their dice pools of all sorts because they're wounded and they have to act out like, oh, I'm a little hurt, then it also affects their initiative. They're just a little bit slower. Okay, and if it stacks, if you have damage on your physical and you have damage on your stun, it all is accumulative, and you could have like a -4 maybe, which that's pretty substantial. And that could totally cost you a full initiative pass. Often going down one mark, going from 16 to 15 or something, probably isn't going to be all that game changing. But if it does bump you to a point where you're tied with someone, then you need to use Eric to decide the tie. Another thing that could arise is when someone gets a score that knocks them down just below you. So say you had an initiative score of 15 and the person you attacked had an initiative score of 16. Well, you hit them enough to get them a -2 on their dice pools. Pretty solid hit, right? But now they get an initiative score of 14. Does that mean they get to go? No, they've already had their turn for that initiative pass. But for subsequent combat turns, they'll get a -2 to their initiative roll, and of course to their dice pools in general. Another thing that can change initiative scores that you're going to want to do is things like magic, or entering the astral plane, or turning on your augmentations as a street samurai and getting those cool upgrades you had kick into effect. So let's take the street samurai for example. So you normally have a 1d6 in the physical world. Now let's say you activate your augmentations and it says it gives you 3d6. You've already rolled 1d6, so you roll a net of 3d6 for that initiative pass. That simply means you roll 2 more d6, and you've already rolled 1, so that gives you your full 3d6. You roll those 2d6 and immediately add it to your score. You also, if the augmentations increase your attributes by a certain amount, then of course that would also increase the number right then and there. Same thing with Astral Plane. It changes what numbers you even use for your ability score, so it's going to change your initiative score. 2 other ways to really maximize your initiative is through Edge and using drugs. I'll discuss drugs in another video. 2 things that Edge does for your initiative score is Seize the Initiative is one called, and that simply puts you at the top of the initiative. Now say 2 people use Seize the Initiative, then you actually will go in order of what your score would have been. So say someone with a 15 and someone with a 10 use Seize the Initiative. Well, say the top person is pretty high at like 26. Well, these are going to go, the person who would have had a 10 would be 27, and the person who has a 15 would be 28 now. And that's how you determine that. Alright, so Seize Initiative, very effective, especially if you know someone's going to roll high on your team or on the other team. The other one is called Blitz, and this simply allows you to roll the max number of dice when you roll initiative. And I didn't cover this yet, but the max number, no matter how you obtain it, either by using some sort of magic haste spell, using augmentation, something, the most dice you can roll when you roll initiative is 5d6. This Edge, called Blitz, allows you to roll the max number, which is pretty exciting. You're probably going to end up, I mean, depending if you have really good ability scores, it's a possibility to definitely end up in the 30s. You're very likely to end up in the 20s, though, and that will greatly help your teammates. So what else can have dramatic impact on your initiative? Well, there's something called interrupt actions. We haven't talked about them yet. And all of them actually cost initiative score to be utilized. Otherwise, you can use an interrupt action anytime during the combat turn, unless you're surprised. So what you got here is you have block, dodge, hit the dirt, intercept, parry, and full defense. Full defense costs a full 10 initiative score, a full initiative pass basically. All the others only cost 5 initiatives, so it's possible if you roll 16, 17, something like that, then you can still keep the full number of initiative passes you were going to have. Now they work a little differently. Block, dodge, and parry are very similar in that they add a skill to your defense pool for that one attack against you. For block, it's going to be your unarmed combat. For dodge, it's going to be your acrobatic skill, and parry is going to be that particular melee attack, like blades or something. And you add that to your dice pool. The hit the dirt interrupt action is unique to when someone's using suppressive fire against you. And what you do is, say you've already used your free action to do something else, so you can't drop prone for free this time. But you can still use this hit the dirt move so you don't take any damage, or you don't even have to roll to avoid taking damage, and you drop prone. Because the premise of suppressive fire is to basically pin someone down. Now, how it works, when you were to roll against it, is it's based off your reaction and edge to dodge the attacks there. So it's based more off luck. Whereas normally you're rolling against your reaction and intuition, kind of gut feel, or knowing where that person's pointing the gun at, basically. But this takes away 5 from your score, and you can drop prone for free. Or not free, it's 5 initiative score. The interrupt action, this is your attack of opportunity, basically. Someone's moving through your area while you're in melee combat, or have that means to do it. Someone is trying to leave melee combat that you're in. You basically, for a score of 5 initiative, can hit them, which is pretty awesome. It really increases your action economy, right? 1 extra hit. Now, full defense is the last one. It's a full initiative turn. But what does it do for you, though? Why is it so powerful? Basically, it gives you for the entire combat turn. So if you know it's going to be about 3, initiative passes, well, you get to add your wisdom attribute to your defense pool for every attack against you. So it's pretty powerful. And in that sense, full defense, which gives you quite a bit of defense on top of whatever you're doing, and the intercept, which increases your action economy, they have to be paid in full to be used. Basically, for full defense, you have to have an initiative score of at least 11 to utilize it. For intercept, you have to have an initiative score of at least a 6. If you don't have enough to pay it, then you can't actually use these abilities. This prevents people who either rolled low, unfortunately, or people from, let's say someone who rolled low, rolled like a 9 or 10, even like a 10, they go ahead and take their turn, but they know there's going to be a few more initiative passes in the round. But they only get 1 turn. Okay, they go at 10 on initiative score 9, whether there's someone there or not. Basically, they're saying, okay, I activate full defense. And they're like, oh, okay, just go ahead and add your wisdom modifier to any attacks that come in. You're like, okay, cool. And then when they minus 10 from the score at the end of that initiative pass, and he goes to 0, he's still going to have his wisdom. But he didn't give up anything to get that. He took his turn and did it. In fact, he could have, under that logic, he could have blocked and then still done a full defense, possibly. And that's where the intent of this is that you can't, 2 of the interrupt actions you have to be able to fully pay for it. The intercept, again, so if you want to hit someone, you're going to have to be able to pay the full cost. If it's going to take you to 0 or lower, that's not sufficient. So basically, to recap, what you're going to do is simply roll your initiative, which is based on the dice, depending on where you are. Add your attributes together. This gives you your initiative score. Give that to the DM. You go in the order of that score. If you get hurt, you activate augmentations, you spells, change your location. Then your initiative score will change immediately. Upon taking your action, it falls to the next person, and once everyone's gone for that initiative pass, then you minus 10 from your score and you start a new initiative pass. After you've repeated that process and no one has a score above 0, then you start a new combat turn where you re-roll all together. And remember to use Edge to make yourself super effective at getting at the top of the list. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.